It was past midnight when Keanu Reeves sat alone in his trailer, his body still aching from the last take. The studio was quiet now. Only the hum of distant lights and the occasional creak of metal filled the space. Most of the crew had already left, but he stayed behind, not ready to face the cold silence of his apartment. He sipped lukewarm tea and scrolled through his messages, mostly old ones. The screen flickered a little, then something unusual happened. A message popped up. Not to him, but to someone else. It was Ana's, and it wasn't meant for him. At first he thought it was a mistake in the system, some accidental sync from the shared production group chat. But then he saw the words. They were raw, short, trembling, not meant to be read aloud, not even meant to be shared. I'm tired. Not the normal kind. The kind you feel in your chest. The kind you can't sleep off. Keanu's thumb froze above the screen. For a second, he didn't breathe. He blinked hard, thinking maybe he had misread it, but the message stayed. It wasn't for him. She had sent it to a friend, maybe. Or maybe she had never meant to send it at all. He looked at the time. It was sent just 10 minutes ago. He stood up fast. The tea spilled slightly onto the floor, but he didn't care. He grabbed his jacket and walked quickly toward her trailer. His heart thumped louder with every step. He'd always seen something behind Ana's smile. Something quiet. Something heavy. But he had never asked. He never wanted to cross a line. They were friends, yes, but not the kind that shared their wounds. At least, not until now. He paused outside her door. The small light was still on. He knocked gently. No answer. He waited. Then knocked again, this time softer, Ana. He called, voice calm, not pushing, just present inside. She heard him. She sat on the couch, curled up in a hoodie too big for her frame. Her eyes were red, not from crying. She hadn't cried yet, but from holding it in. She had sent the message. Without thinking, like a scream into a void, she hadn't expected it to land in someone's hands, especially not his. She didn't answer. Keanu stayed by the door. He didn't knock again. He just leaned gently against it and whispered, I saw the message. I know it wasn't meant for me, but I'm here if you want. There was a long silence. A full minute passed. Then the door creaked open. Ana didn't say a word. Her eyes looked at him, not with shame, but with exhaustion, not with fear, but with surrender. She stepped back and let him in. He didn't ask questions. Didn't force a conversation. He just sat beside her, slowly, as if afraid to scare the quiet. The room was dim, only a desk lamp casting soft shadows on the wall. Ana pulled her knees to her chest. Keanu sat, hands folded, eyes steady on the carpet. He didn't need to fill the air with words. His silence was enough. Finally, Ana whispered, I didn't mean for you to see it. Keanu turned to her. I know. I don't usually talk like that. Maybe you should, he said softly. You don't have to carry it alone. Ana looked at him. Something in his voice made her believe that. It wasn't just being kind. He meant it. He had known pain too. Maybe that's why he saw hers. I don't even know what I'm feeling, she said. Like, the more I do, the emptier it feels. Keanu nodded slowly. I've felt that many times. Ana studied him. But you always seem calm, peaceful. He smiled. Not out of joy, but out of understanding. Peace doesn't mean never breaking. Just means you know how to sit with the pieces. Ana exhaled slowly, like her body was letting go of something for the first time. She leaned her head on his shoulder, not out of romance, but out of need. He didn't move, just stayed still. Sometimes presence is the loudest form of love outside. The world continued moving. Trucks rolled past, crew members laughed somewhere in the distance, but in that trailer, time stopped. A moment happened between two souls who didn't plan for it. A moment built not on scripts or cameras or expectations, but on honesty, silence, and one message that was never meant to be seen. Keanu didn't need to fix her. He just needed to be there. And he was. But what neither of them knew was that the message had reached someone else too. Someone who would not respond with kindness, and everything would change. The next morning, the sun came up like nothing had happened. The studio lot was already buzzing. Makeup trailers opened, grips moved wires, someone shouted about a missing lens. The world was loud again, too loud. But inside Anna's trailer, it was quiet. She had barely slept. Not because of fear, but because her heart had finally been heard. It was strange how that made her feel awake and tired at the same time. Keanu had left just before dawn. Not because he wanted to leave, but because he didn't want her to feel watched. Before he walked out, he simply said, "I'm around. Just say the word." And he meant it. Anna sat on the small couch, her phone in her lap. She stared at the screen at the message that had somehow found him. She still didn't know how. Her hands trembled as she tapped through her settings. Then her face went pale. The message hadn't just gone to one person. It had sent to the old group thread. The one from a year ago. The one that had all the cast and producers in it. She had forgotten it even existed. But it was there, buried in her contacts. And now, that raw message, that private confession, had gone to 12 people. Her mouth went dry. Her heart pounded in her chest. She saw the read receipts, Keanu's name, someone else, then another, and another. She counted seven people had seen it, and only Keanu said something. The door banged open suddenly. Her assistant walked in, holding a stack of papers and a fake smile that didn't match her eyes. "Anna," she said, a little too loud. "They need you on set in 15. Wardrobe wants to check the jacket again, the blue one." Anna nodded slowly. "Okay." Her assistant hovered for a second, then hesitated. "Are you okay?" she asked. Softer now. Anna looked up. She didn't answer right away. Then she nodded, just tired. The assistant gave a nervous smile and left. Anna knew that look, the kind that said someone had seen something, but didn't want to talk about it, and she knew more eyes would be watching her today. Not because of her acting, not because of the scene, but because of the message. On set, everything felt heavier. The director called for a quiet take. Cameras rolled. Lights burned. Anna stood under the rigging, opposite a man playing her father. In the story, she was supposed to cry in this scene, supposed to show pain, but the pain didn't feel like acting anymore. The director called cut, not because she messed up, but because something in her expression didn't match the script, Anna. He said, walking over, "That wasn't quite what we discussed. You looked ... distant." She nodded. "Sorry. Want to do one more?" he asked, trying to sound kind but clearly impatient. "Yeah," she whispered. They rolled again and again. Each take chipped away at her. During lunch, she sat alone at the edge of the set. Her eyes searched the crowd. Then they landed on Keanu, who sat under a tree eating quietly. He looked up. Their eyes met. He gave a small nod. No pressure, just presence. She wanted to walk over, wanted to talk. But she didn't. Not because she didn't trust him, but because she was. Afraid of what was being said that afternoon. She found out not through words, not through confrontation, but through whispers. She overheard two background actors talking. "Did you see it?" One of them said, "The message." "Yeah," the other replied. "I mean, that's dark." "Right. Like, should someone say something? Maybe she just wanted attention. She's dramatic sometimes." Anna froze behind the curtain. They hadn't seen her. Her body stiffened. She stepped back, turned around, and bumped into someone. It was Keanu. His face softened the second. He saw her eyes. He didn't ask what happened. He didn't need to. She looked like someone who had just seen a part of herself being picked apart. He motioned with his hand, silently asking if she wanted to step outside. She nodded. They walked together to the edge of the lot, where the trees were tall and no one came unless they needed to be alone. They sat down on a bench. "They saw it," she said. "I figured," he replied. "They're talking," she said. "They don't understand," he replied. Anna looked at him, "But they think they do. They think I'm weak or looking for attention." Keanu leaned forward, his hands resting on his knees. "When people see honesty, they don't always know what to do with it. So they make it smaller, safer, something they can mock. Anna looked down. I wish I could take it back. He paused, then said, but maybe. Maybe it's the first thing you've ever sent that actually said how you really feel. Didn't speak. He looked out at the sky. You don't have to explain yourself to people who don't listen. And you don't have to be strong all the time. They expect me to be, she said. He looked at her, then break their expectations. That evening, Anna got a call. From someone she never expected. A producer. One of the people on that old group thread, Anna. His voice was serious. You okay? I don't know, she said honestly. Listen, he said. I didn't want to bring this up, but some people saw your message. They're concerned. The studio's asking questions. Her breath caught. What kind of questions? They want to know if you're okay to continue. This is going to ... affect the work. Also, they're worried about the schedule, she said flatly. There was a pause. They're worried about the film, not about me. Silence then. We care, Anna. We do. But you understand, it's a big production. Anna hung up. Her hands shook again. But this time not from fear, from anger, from heartbreak, and from something she hadn't felt in a long time. A need to be heard. For real. And she knew who was the only one still listening. Keanu. The next morning was cold, even though the sun was out. Anna walked onto set with her jacket pulled tight, her hair tied back simply, no makeup yet. People greeted her the way they always did, smiles that stopped before they reached the eyes. Voices that were cheerful, but too controlled, like everyone had read a headline about her and wasn't sure if they should say something, but she wasn't hiding today. Not anymore. She had decided something the night before. After that call, the silence from the people who should have cared. It wasn't going to be like this anymore. She would stop pretending. She would stop apologizing for feeling too deeply, because somewhere deep inside, she remembered who she was before the world taught her to stay quiet, and someone reminded her of that. Keanu. He hadn't sent another message, hadn't knocked on her door again. He just waited, respected her space. But she knew where to find him, because he was always where calm was needed most. Anna walked through the crowd of crew members, past the costume racks, past the snack tables, past the lights, and the monitors. She didn't stop until she reached the far end of the set, where the quiet trailer sat. She found his trailer, paused, then knocked once. The door opened slowly. Keanu stood there, calm as always, a book in one hand, tea in the other. He didn't speak. He just moved aside, let her in. She sat down on the couch. He sat across from her. She looked at him with eyes that didn't blink for a long time. Then she said something he didn't expect. Do you think I'm broken? He looked at her, not shocked, not surprised, just honest. No, he said. I think you're bruised and you're allowed to be. Anna nodded slowly. They think I'm not professional. They think I'm distracted. Keanu leaned forward, his voice low and steady. You are human, not a machine. And your pain doesn't make you less professional. It makes you real. But in this industry, real is dangerous, she whispered. They want perfect. Then let them want it, he said. But don't become it. Anna felt something shift inside her. It was small, but strong. It's like a knot starting to loosen. You know, she said after a pause, I almost quit last night. Keanu's face didn't change, but something in his posture did. Softer now, like his body understood what her voice didn't say. What stopped you? He asked gently. She looked down at her hands. You. He didn't reply. He just nodded. Double quotes. I don't know what this is, she said. This ... heaviness. It doesn't go away. Keanu took a breath. It might not, but it becomes lighter when it's shared. They sat there in silence. Anna looked out the small window, then said, I want to tell them, not just about the message, but everything. The anxiety, the pressure, the days when I can't get out of bed, the nights when I wonder why I even do this. Keanu watched her. She continued. I want to stop pretending. Maybe someone else out there feels the same. Someone will, he said. Many will. But it might ruin everything. Or Keanu said, it might save someone. Anna smiled, not because she was happy, but because for once she felt seen. Not for her talent, not for her fame, but for her soul. What if they don't believe me? She asked. Then speak anyway. Later that day, Anna walked into the makeup trailer. Everyone paused. She looked around. Can I have a moment? She asked. No one moved. Then slowly the room emptied. Just her and the makeup artist were left. Anna sat in the chair, looked at herself in the mirror, the tired eyes, quiet pain. She didn't want to cover it up anymore. She turned to the artist. Light makeup. Don't hide the dark circles. The woman hesitated, then nodded. You okay? She asked softly. Anna met her eyes. No, but I'm here, and that's enough. That evening, Anna posted something on her social media, a picture of her on set. No makeup, no smile. Just her, sitting quietly in a chair. The caption was short. Some days I feel like I can't breathe. Some days I wonder if people would notice if I disappeared. This isn't about attention. This is about honesty. If you've ever felt this way, you're not alone. And you're not weak. You're just human. You're allowed to be. She put her phone down. She didn't check the comments. She didn't check the likes, because it wasn't for them. It was for her. The next morning, the post had gone viral. Millions of people shared it. Thousands of messages poured in from strangers, fans, even other actors. But more important than the messages, was one quiet voice that reached her. First, a voice that never chased attention. Voice that never judged. Keanu, his message was simple. You showed courage, and I see you always. Anna read it again and again. And for the first time in weeks, she smiled. Not because the pain was gone, but because it had finally found a home. When Anna stepped onto set the next morning, the air felt different. Not just around her, but everywhere. People looked at her, but not with curiosity anymore. Not like she was broken glass to tiptoe around. They looked at her like she was something. Real, something human. And that changed everything. But not everyone welcomed that change, because with honesty comes resistance, and when someone dares to speak the truth, especially a woman in Hollywood, the world doesn't always clap. Sometimes, it claws by mid-morning, her phone buzzed non-stop. Headlines had started to spread. Not the supportive ones, not the thoughtful essays from mental health advocates, the loud ones, the twisted ones. Ana de Armas posts emotional. Breakdown amid film delays. Is Ana de Armas still fit for lead roles? Ana's cry for help, poor calculated career move. Each one felt like a slap. The studio hadn't said anything yet, but their silence was already speaking volumes. Anna sat in her trailer, the screen in her hands, burning her eyes. The support online was overwhelming. Messages from fans. Messages from quiet strangers who had felt the same darkness she had described. But all it took was one cruel headline to bury all of that kindness. She felt her stomach twist. She thought telling the truth would bring peace. But now the storm was bigger and louder. A knock came at the door. She opened it, expecting Keanu, but it wasn't him. It was the producer. He stepped in like he owned the room, and in many ways, he did. He crossed his arms and looked at her like she was a math problem. That wouldn't solve itself, Anna, he said. Can we talk? She nodded once. He didn't sit. He didn't smile. He just said, look, we all want what's best for you. We do, and I know you're going through something, but this post, it's causing noise. People are worried. Investors are calling. Stayed quiet, he continued. Maybe we take a break from social media for a bit. Focus on the project. Stay on script. And what if my script doesn't match theirs anymore? She asked softly. He blinked. What? What if being quiet is what broke me in the first place? She said. The producer sighed. Anna, you're one of the best actresses we've worked with. But this transparency thing, it's risky. She stood up, looked him in the eyes. Maybe the risk is worth it. He looked stunned for a second, like he hadn't expected her to fight back then. He said, we'll talk later. He walked out without another word. Anna found Keanu sitting alone again. He is always somewhere quiet, somewhere steady. She didn't need to say anything this time. He just moved over and made space beside him. She sat, let the air sit between them. For a minute, then said, "I think they're scared of the truth." He nodded. "Most people are. They think I'm going to ruin the film." "You're not. They think I'm unstable. They don't know you." Anna exhaled. "They want me to be quiet again." Keanu looked at her gently. "Then it's your choice, not theirs." "I want to speak," she said. "Not just once. I want to say everything I was scared to say." Keanu nodded again. "Then speak. They might drop me." "Then they were never with you." Anna looked at him. She knew he wasn't just saying things to make her feel better. He was telling the truth, and the truth, and spoken by someone who knows pain carries weight. That evening, she sat down in her trailer again, this time not shaking. This time, not afraid, she opened her laptop and started writing, not a press release, not an apology, a letter to herself, to the little girl inside, who had always smiled when she wanted to cry, to the fans who thought being famous meant being happy too, the people watching her from the shadows of their own pain. She wrote about the pressure, about the quiet anxiety that lived behind every camera flash, about the roles she had played, not on screen but in real life, the role of perfection, the role of the strong woman, the role of the girl who has it all together, and how those roles nearly destroyed her. She ended the letter with a line that stayed in her soul. "If honesty ruins me in this world, then maybe the world needs some ruining." She posted it not on a brand page, not through a manager, on her own account. No filter, no PR polish, just truth. And then she turned off the phone and breathed. Keanu knocked 10 minutes later. He didn't say a word. He just held out a small paper. Bagged inside was T. and a note that said, "Sometimes the bravest thing is staying soft when the world tries to harden you." She smiled, a soft, tired smile. But it was real, and for now, that was enough, but far away from the quiet trailers. Someone else was watching. Someone who had more power than a headline. Someone who wasn't pleased with what Anna had done. And they weren't going to stay silent. The next morning didn't start with sunlight or the smell of tea. It started with a phone call. Not a gentle one, not a kind one, but the kind that leaves a bruise in the air. Anna had just woken up when it rang. Her eyes were still swollen from sleep. The world was still blurry. She answered without looking. The voice was sharp, cold, controlled. Double quotes. "Anna, it's Jessica." Anna sat up, immediately alert. "I'm calling because we need to address your latest post and everything surrounding it." Anna's fingers clenched the blanket. "Address it? How?" "This is off the record," Jessica said. ... But the board is meeting today. There's concern you're creating instability in the press. It's not about what you said did, about how it affects the project." Anna closed her eyes. "We're considering pausing your involvement until things settle." Jessica added, "Just a temporary step. So I get punished for telling the truth?" Anna asked. "It's not punishment," Jessica replied quickly. "It's strategy." Anna's voice didn't shake. "Not anymore. And what if I don't agree?" The silence on the other end was heavy then. That would make things complicated. Anna didn't reply. She hung up. Not out of fear, but because she already knew. It's the answer. They were going to cut her out, and they were going to do it quietly. Behind contracts, behind polite press releases, behind closed doors, where her voice wouldn't reach, but not this time. She got up, put on her jacket, and walked outside. The calmness they weren't ready for. Keanu was already standing near the trailers, almost like he knew. His eyes met hers. She didn't need to explain anything. He nodded toward the bench. They sat again. Her voice was steady now. "Stronger than before? They want to push me out." Keanu didn't blink. "I figured," they said. "I'm disrupting things." He leaned forward, his hands clasped. Truth always does. They're calling it strategy. "No," he said. "It's silence with makeup on." Anna let out a small breath. Half laugh, half ache. "I don't know what to do," she said. "Do I keep quiet and stay, or do I fight and lose everything?" Keanu looked at her, slow and steady. What do you want, more peace with yourself or peace with them? She looked down, then whispered, myself. He nodded. Then you already know. Anna stood up. What are you going to do? He asked. I'm going to speak this time. In person. Later that day, while everyone else was eating lunch or checking lighting setups, Anna walked straight into the production office. She didn't knock. She didn't schedule a meeting. She just walked in. Producers looked up from their laptops. The room went still. Anna stood in the doorway. Small, tired, but unshaken. I won't be silent about this, she said, her voice low but clear. And if that costs me this job, then so be it. But don't call it professionalism when it's really fear. Don't pretend you care about mental health and then punish someone for telling the truth. No one spoke. They just stared. Some with shame, some with confusion, some with the kind of fear that only comes when someone breaks a system you've hidden behind. Anna turned around and walked out. She didn't wait for applause. She didn't wait for consequences. She just walked. Keanu found her that evening. Sitting in the back of the soundstage, he handed her a cup of tea. She took it and said, "Nothing." Then she looked at him. "I think I might be done." Keanu tilted his head. "With the film?" "With all of it," she said. "This world, the pressure, the pretending." He nodded slowly, then said, "Maybe you're not done. Maybe you're just done playing their version of you." Anna blinked. His words hit deeper than he knew. Or maybe he did know. "What if I walked?" "Away from all of it?" she asked. "Then walk," he said. "But only if you're walking toward yourself." Anna leaned back against the wall. "I never expected this," she whispered. "All this came from one message, a message you weren't supposed to see." He smiled softly. "Some messages arrive exactly where they're meant to." Anna looked at him. Really looked not like an actor, not like a friend, like someone who had seen her when she wasn't trying to be seen. And for the first time in a long time, she felt proud of the girl who had typed that message. The girl who dared to whisper her truth even when she thought no one was listening. Keanu had listened, and now so many others had. But one more surprise was waiting, and it came the next morning, with a call she never expected. A call not from the studio, not from the media, not from lawyers, but from someone who had stayed silent all this time until now. Someone who knew what it meant to break quietly. Someone who had something to confess. It was early morning when Anna's phone rang again. She almost didn't answer, but something in her gut told her this call was different. The number was familiar, but not saved. She hesitated, then pressed accept. The voice on the other end was soft, low, and full of something she hadn't heard from anyone in weeks. "Truth, double quotes. Anna, it's Sandra." Sandra Bullock. They had worked together years ago. They weren't best friends, not even close. But they had shared quiet laughs on set, real ones. And Sandra had always carried a calm that Anna had admired. "I saw your post," Sandra said, her voice carrying years of lived pain and strength. "And I wanted you to know. You spoke what most of us feel, what most of us have hidden for years." Anna sat up in bed. No one had called her like this. Not to fix her, not to warn her, just to speak. "They used to tell me the same thing," Sandra continued. "Smile more, stay quiet, don't talk about the pressure, don't show the cracks." Anna listened, heart pounding softly. "And I did that," Sandra said, "for a long time, until it nearly broke me." Anna's throat tightened. "But what you did, it matters," Sandra said. "You opened a door. People like me, we've been waiting for someone younger, braver, to say it out loud." Anna closed her eyes. Tears slipped down. It's quiet and hot. Not from sadness, from feeling seen. "Again, whatever happens next," Sandra said, "don't doubt what you started," Anna whispered. "Thank you." And Sandra said one last thing before hanging up. "You weren't meant to be perfect, Anna. You were meant to be real." That day, Anna didn't hide. She walked onto set with her head up, and when someone whispered her name behind her back, she turned and smiled. Not because she didn't care, but because their whispers didn't own her anymore. She had found something bigger than approval. She had found her voice, and with it came others. Other actors started posting their own messages. Small ones, big ones, confessions, truths, men and women who had stayed silent for too long. Directors, stylists, background actors, assistants. They all started telling the stories that had never made it into interviews. Stories about the loneliness behind success, the fear behind the spotlight, and it all traced back to one message that wasn't supposed to be seen. Anna didn't stop working, but she didn't let them shape her anymore. When the studio offered to bring in a publicist to fix her image, she declined. When reporters asked for interviews to explain her emotional journey, she said no. She didn't want a brand. She wanted to live. Keanu stayed quiet through it all, not because he didn't care, but because his care didn't need to be loud. He walked beside her. Never in front. He never took credit, never posted about her, never made it about him. He just stood in every shadow she stepped through, until she didn't need the shadows anymore. Months passed. Anna finished the film, and when it premiered, something unexpected happened. It wasn't just the acting people talked about, it was the strength, the presence, the authenticity, and something else, the honesty behind her eyes. Because pain, when faced, doesn't disappear, but it transforms. And when it's shared, it becomes light for someone else. One night after the premiere, Anna sat beside Keanu on a quiet bench outside. The after-party music played faintly inside, but they didn't care about the party. They cared about the silence, the peace after the storm. Anna turned to him, holding a cup of tea he had handed her. "You." "No," she said. "If you hadn't seen that message, ... I was meant to," he said, before she could finish. Maybe she smiled. "But I'm still glad it was you." Keanu nodded slowly. "Me too." They sat there, under the stars. No cameras, no scripts, no makeup, just two people who understood what it meant to fall and rise without needing applause. Anna looked up at the sky, then down at her hands. "I still feel it sometimes," she admitted. "You always will," Keanu said. "But now you don't feel it alone." And that made all the difference. Because healing doesn't come all at once. It comes in quiet, cups of tea, in unspoken support, in brave mistakes, and in the eyes of someone who didn't ignore what others chose to. A message that was never meant to be read had become the beginning of a revolution, not just in Hollywood, but in one woman's soul. And when one soul changes, the world follows.